All right, we're live. Good afternoon, everybody. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Achiever Zone episode 4. My name is Oluseyi Lala, and I'm happy to have with me a very good friend, colleague, and brother, Mr. Yemi Faseun. You're welcome, sir. How are you doing?
Thank you, Shay. Nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me. I'm doing well, thank God. And yourself and family, keeping safe?
I'm doing very well. I'm fine. Thank you very much. Firstly, let me just appreciate you and thank you for the privilege of sitting with you. I know you're a very busy person. I was telling my wife this morning that you have your hands in a lot of things like an octopus in different areas. So to track you down and have, the chance to sit down with you for 1 hour is tough. And I know we've been discussing about this for a while, but at least we locked down the dates and God permitted us. We have, the chance to sit down. So I want to appreciate you for that. For those that are watching, Achiever Zone basically was a spin-off from the group I created early in the year called 2020 Goals and Achievements. And the whole idea for me, I felt inspired to start a group where we can, share with people different ways, different techniques of setting goals, achieving goals, and tracking those goals within the year 2020. So it started about a year or 2 years ago for me personally as an individual, where I have been working on different techniques, different ways of setting my goals and tracking them and achieving them for each year, because it's been a practice I've done for like 15, 20 years now. And then late last year, I just felt inspired that, okay, I shouldn't hold on to some of these things. I should be able to, set up a group and have people come into that community to be able to learn and then share and all of that. But again, 2020 started on a good note for the group. We had our goals set for Q1 of 2020, which ended in March. But unfortunately, around that time, COVID-19 happened, and everybody just went in their separate ways to go, shelter in place, work from home, and all of that. So the energy in the group kind of died down a bit. But around 2-3 weeks ago, I just got inspired again that, okay, you know what, people might think that because of the pandemic, there's no point setting goals again for 2020. There's no point tracking anything and all that. So that's how, the idea of Achiever Zone came in, to kind of select some of the people that I know personally or people within the community that we can just sit down and share techniques and different things that, we've done over the years to help us set goals and achieve goals, especially as we got to the middle of the year 2020, which is around, now. So that's what I started about, a couple of weeks ago, and it's been, improving and getting better over the year. So that's why I reached out to you when I did, to kind of book you down for today. And like I said earlier, I'm really happy that we've been able to plan it and God allowed it to happen and we're here together. So thank you very much for that. I'll just go straight to it in terms of, if you can just give us a quick introduction of yourself so that, the community would basically know who we're talking to today.
Okay, so, not too much about me, not too much to me. What do I need to share from a career perspective? I started my career in sales. I moved into marketing. And then sometime in 1999, I started doing something like HR. I went to Ife, Great Ife in the house. Hey, Great Ife.
Yeah.
I went to Ife. I did my MBA in Ilori, and then started my career. Like I said, sales, marketing, and HR. I've been a bit nomadic with my career. I'm on my 11th job right now.
Wow.
You and I were colleagues sometime in my past life.
Yes.
I've done banking. I've done consulting. I'm now in telco. I was in telco before. I was in banking, into telco, went back to banking, and now back into telco. I don't know how these things happen, but yeah, I just joined Globalcom about a month ago. Okay, well, it's coming to 2 months now, so that's where I am right now.
Okay, fantastic. I mean, like you said, we were previously colleague in a former telco and all that. And funny thing is, I actually worked with Glow before at the earlier stage of my career. So it's more like full circle
We
for the
stopped,
two of us.
right?
So we just swapped basically. So thank you very much. Nice to have you. And I mean, like the flyer was saying, it's basically going to be a question and answer session with you, with a focus on a little bit of HR perspective of things generally. So there are a couple of questions I will ask, and then if we have anybody in the audience that also has questions, they can always type it in, and then we'll look at
Okay.
them, and ask. But first off, just like I was saying in the intro, we didn't expect COVID-19 to happen, but here we are. Around March, about the end of March, we had that lockdown and all of that. So I think the first thing for me to ask you is how has it affected you basically in terms of what have you done differently because of the after effect of the pandemic and the lockdown, stay at home and all of that?
Okay, so I guess the way I'll respond to that is to say that I was ready for the future. No, I was getting ready for the future of work about 2-3 years ago. And most of the conferences where I spoke in 2018, 2019, they were all woven around the future of work. The conversations were the future of what the expectations, artificial intelligence, robotics, what technology can allow us to do, digital leveraging and all that. But nobody was ready for the pandemic. COVID-19 was an alien word in our world at that time. But what has happened, if you ask me, is that COVID-19 just fast forwarded the future of work. I was telling a group of people this morning that we thought the future of work was going to unfold gradually. That was what we thought. But the future just happened to the entire world at the same time. Imagine that the entire the planet was on lockdown for human beings for about 4 to 5 weeks. Nobody planned for it. Okay, so how did it affect me as a person? Interestingly, by the time COVID was impacting our own side of the planet, of the universe, I was on a career break. Actually,
okay.
I had taken a 3-month career break at that point in time. So I was literally setting up my own business structure at that time. I mean, I started my career break sometime in February. It was going to be for 3 months, an agreement I had with my prior organization. And it was in the course of my jejely sitting down to build a kind of future that two things happened. One, I got invited by the organization I'm working with right now to say, hey, what's happening? Let's see what you can do with us. And this conversation started on LinkedIn. I just got the invitation on LinkedIn. Wow. So that conversation started. But sincerely, I'm not sure that I really gave it too much thought. Oh, yes, I sent in my CV. Yes, I started the conversation. But what was uppermost in my mind was to set up my own structure. So while that was going on, COVID-19 happened. And then the conversations continued in the early days of COVID-19. And eventually it culminated in being made an offer to join this organization. So, I mean, I weighed my options. I'm like, okay, I mean, you've been nomadic with your career. Now this has happened. You didn't ask for it. It has come now. This is another opportunity again in another organization. And because I don't tell people before, my thoughts were that this would be familiar terrain. I spent 6 years at Etisalat, now 9 Mobile. And I said to myself, this will be familiar terrain. Let's go and see what else we can do in this organization. And that's how I joined in May 4, right after lifting of the lockdown, the easing of the lockdown. The first Monday of that, I resumed at Globalcom. So, I mean, it has given everybody an opportunity to rethink our lives, not just the way we work. I think it has given us an opportunity. Life became the center of life for all of us, became the home front. Work from home. My wife, before the pandemic, she used to go to the gym every morning. Now, gym is on Zoom on every morning. So gym at home, school at home, work at home, everything at home. So we just suddenly realized the importance of the home structure in the scheme of things. So that was one major lesson I took away from there. And then another major lesson was, I don't know how it happened, but again, I'll say the grace of God, that when people were possibly apprehensive, uncertain, and all that. That was the time I got a job, and I, giving that credit ultimately back to God. It had nothing to do with what I said at the interviews or what I knew and all that.
Right.
From my perspective, honestly, it was just grace working out a course of life for me. So that's it. So many lessons to learn. But I was, while all the lockdown was going on, I was totally in touch with most of my mentees, my proteges, my colleagues, and we continue to share experiences and notes. Yemi, we have to work from home. People were complaining a lot about meetings and Zoom meetings and Zoom.
Right. Yeah.
Death by webinar became common. Not that people
Yeah.
were dying, but again, people were a bit fatigued because everybody was online for one thing or another. But that drove home the reality of the messages of the last 2 years for me, that the
Right.
future of work was going to be virtual, that we were not going to always go to Ikoyi or VI or Ikorodu Road, Ikeja to work. That flexi work was going to be a new reality. So as I was exchanging notes with so many of my colleagues and friends, the reality was dawning on us, right? That yes, this is now the new normal. It is no longer that we're going to go back to the way we used to work. It is going to be a different ball game going forward. And of course, I continue to self-develop. I continue to upskill myself as well, because that's one thing. If we're not developing ourselves, we are cheating on ourselves, really.
Right.
So that's basically, it's been some sort of positive experience on one side, and from another perspective, we also have known individuals who have lost their jobs,
Right.
friends and colleagues and loved ones. That is the downside of this.
Mm.
Not pleasant in any way. We also know people who got to the office, or they didn't get to the office, they got their paycheck one particular month and it had been reduced by 20%,
Certain percentage.
40%, 50%, and they still have to work. That was another unpleasant outcome of this for me. And we also know people who have been casualties of COVID-19, whether we like it or not. That's also the reality. It wasn't any longer about the UK or Spain or
It was
China.
nearer home.
It was actually nearer home. So that reality was beginning to hit everybody. But what we also have learned is how to live with this pandemic, because the medical experts have told us that it's not going to go away for a long time. So we are learning new ways. So we have moved, the entire workforce in organizations and human beings generally, we have moved from a state of shock, anxiety, and worry to a state of survival.
Yeah.
This thing is not going to go away. We are going to survive. And I think that the new wave that we are going into gradually now is the place of recovery, i.e., it's going to stay, it's happening, not going away. What are we going
You
to
have to
do?
adapt.
Life,
Right.
life must continue, businesses must continue. It's called a going concern, not for anything. There's a reason why we must overcome the crisis. Leadership is challenged now, because we need to bring together a workforce that you cannot see and all that. So it's a lot of lessons learned, all within a very short space of time. But the reality is that those lessons are going to go with us into the future, because the future has now suddenly happened.
I mean, you took the words out of my mouth, because again, just like you said, I have been studying a work of a futurist. His name is Jacob Morgan. And his body of work started around 2013, 2014. And he was also talking about the future of work, future of organization, the requirements of a future leader. Of course, nobody expected that, COVID-19 will happen in 2020, but those are the things I was studying, when this thing started. So just like you as well, it was just like I was upskilling myself. I was learning about this thing. So it didn't take me by surprise. I've been working virtually for a while, even before, my organization said, okay, work from home. Some of my studies that I did it online. I had integrated myself into everything virtual for the last 1 or 2 years, because I deliberately took courses online, to see how the interaction will be and all of that. And to me, the level of productivity actually increased, because the time I would have spent to commute, I just wake up from my room, I get to my studio, and that's office, and I can start work at any time. 6:30 in the
Right.
morning, 5:30 in the morning, and all that. So I was able
Yep.
to do a lot of things. So again, I adapted, just like you said as well. My kids were attending school online. My wife also was working online for a while before she actually started going back when the lockdown was eased. So yes, you're right, and we're still going to get there in the questioning in terms of the future of work and how COVID-19 has affected businesses and organization. But just to take a step back, because just like I explained, the whole idea for this was to kind of glean from people that are our term achievers, ideas about how they set their goals, they track their goals and accomplish them. So I'll take a step back before we actually get into the deeper ones, just to ask you as well that, okay, I know you set goals, I know you have career goals, I know at least to a large extent you track them and achieve them, which has made you the person you are today. So if you can just share briefly with us, your routine or your steps or the style you take in setting goals, in tracking them, and also making sure you achieve them, possibly year on year, or I don't know how you do yours, whether it's quarterly or monthly or yearly. Can you just share a bit of that with us?
Okay, so let me first disabuse the mind of the audience. I
Right.
am not in any way an achiever yet. You cannot describe me by any stretch of imagination as an achiever. I am still on a journey, learning every day from people that I read about, from people like you. Engaging and rubbing minds with even the younger ones on a daily basis, because reverse mentoring is real. Learning a
Absolutely.
lot from them. So really,
Absolutely.
from an achiever perspective, I'm not sure that I qualify to be on this program. I mean, if you are, I could have invited, or I could have suggested other people to come and share with you. However, I have done a bit of things in the past that has
Mm,
helped in the continuous journey towards achievement. I mean,
right.
focus is number one for me. I
Mm,
think focus is number one. We need to be focused. We need to be focused about what we want in the future. So
absolutely.
I say to younger ones, spend time in the future. I
Mm,
have spent a lot of time in the future in the past, and
right.
today I'm spending time in the envisaged future again. A couple of places I had worked, I actually thought about them sometime in the past.
Mm,
I wanted to do, just from a personal experience perspective, I wanted to do an MBA since I got into year two in IFE in
right.
1987. And then life took me through a journey to answer to my thoughts and my words.
Mm,
So what
right.
I say is that our words and our thoughts, they are like messages we send to the universe.
Mm,
And the universe takes them and uses them as raw materials to manufacture or shape our reality. And that
right.
reality gets delivered in our hands. But that's
Mm,
because it starts with a focus, it starts in our mind. So
absolutely.
I am forever positive. So
Mm,
I allow mostly positive thoughts in my mind. I envisaged that I wanted to work with arthritis since my year two in IFE. I
right.
eventually got there in 1999. I wanted to work with Stambik at some point. Eventually, I
Right.
got there in 2007. So there's something about focus. There's something about goal setting. I was talking to somebody, one of my new proteges, just yesterday, and
Mm,
and she said to me that if I ask you now, what exactly do you want to do? This individual has been in the same organization for 14 years. The grade of
wow.
this individual, I didn't like it for where I thought she should have been. And we're having
Mm,
that conversation. I'm like, what really do you want to? And I didn't get a clear understanding of how exactly the future would unfold. And then I
mm,
said, okay, let's have this journey. Let's walk this journey together. So
right.
it does. It's if you think, if you're in a position where you do not have that clear, precise idea of where you want to be, it's not too late. We can start
Mm,
today. And let me
right.
also say that the fact that you also have a clear, crystal clear focus of where you want to be in the future doesn't mean that that is the way it's going to be delivered to you,
Absolutely.
because you need to constantly tweak
Mm,
and monitor the external environment impacting on your goals and your focus, and decide what
absolutely.
you need to do. So you need to be in touch with your reality. Your dreams must keep you awake at night. So I say
Right.
that if your dreams don't keep you awake, go back to bed. go back
Absolutely.
to start dreaming. Your dreams must keep you away. So we must have goals. We must have dreams. From a Christian perspective, you know that one guy had a dream when he was 17 years. The dream was
Absolutely.
fulfilled only when he was 30, a
30.
13-year journey. But you know
Right.
the way it took him first into the pit, then into slavery, then into
Yeah.
prison before
Yeah.
the dream was finally achieved. So there's something about dream, but it doesn't mean that we will not go through hiccups on the way to achieving those dreams. But I think the most important thing is what we rest our mind on.
Right.
What we rest our mind on in terms of what we want to achieve. So I am a bit forever positive. Uh, I am an incurable optimist, actually. I
Yeah.
see the possibilities only, not only
Yeah.
from a career perspective, but generally about life.
Generally in
So I
life.
say those,
Absolutely.
I focus on the future. I spend time on the future. Self development worked for me. Self development worked for me. If I was using my phone to have this conversation, I would have taken you around to see some books that I have read in my career.
Right.
Honestly, I probably read more books after I left school than when I was in school, especially at university.
Wow.
I mean, luckily, I came across the brand traces of this world, the Zig Ziglar, Anthony
Yep.
Robbins, Stephen
Mm.
Covey, and John Maxwell. Those are my favorites.
Absolutely.
And there's a book that I have, I can't remember the author, Profiles of Success. Let me
Right.
tell you, what drove me as a young person was the fear of failure.
Mm. Right.
I didn't think that I was going to do HR. I'll lie to you. If I say, oh, from university, I knew I was going to do HR. No. All
Mm.
that was on my mind was to just be successful. Yemi, go to school, get good grades, go into the corporate world, and be successful.
Mm.
Because I had a huge fear of failure. So
Right.
that was a driving force for me.
Mm.
And it didn't matter that I was in sales when I first got a job. I did the
Okay.
best I could do on that job. It didn't
Mm.
matter that the next job was marketing, direct marketing, articular. I gave it my best shot. And then
Mm.
life offered the opportunity for me to be in HR. I keep saying
Mm.
that I'm an accidental HR because I did not
Plan for
plan
it.
to be in HR. I did
Right.
not join, I did not have any major certification in HR except me joining CIPM in 2018.
Right.
I mean, 2018, after about 20 years of working, was when I
Mm.
joined CIPM. So, I mean,
Wow.
but in terms of reading, in terms of gathering knowledge, that was my main preoccupation for all the years that I've worked. So, self development is key. Do not wait for your organization to send you on training before you
Right.
say, oh, if you're not in love with self development, you are cheating on yourself. What else? Change. I tend to adapt to change easily. I have
Right.
my moments of uncertainty when change
But
happens,
it's rather
but
short.
very short.
Right.
That curve. I don't allow
Mm.
it to linger for
Good.
too long. Just
Mm.
quickly make a dive and get out of it immediately. So yeah, and that. Hmm, I was saying to this same prodigy of mine that very, very early in life, I recognized that communication skills was one of my greatest strengths. And
Right.
I have built on it consciously over the years. I've
Okay.
realized that it's probably, I'm not going to say that it's impossible to be successful if you don't have communication skills, but the kind of career, the kind of role, the kind of person I want to be, or
You
I
need to
wanted
have.
to be there, I realized
Mm.
that communication was going to be an important asset to me. So I was so conscious of my communication skills right from when I left secondary school. It had
Wow.
nothing to do with the fact that I read English at the
Right.
university.
Right.
That was just another reason for me to focus on my communication skill. But it wasn't the reason that
Right.
I'm a bit better than maybe an average person in my
Mm.
communication skills. I just realized that it's a strength, or it was a strength that I had, and I have consistently built over. And I'm not there yet. I'm still learning. I'm still learning
Mm.
new words every day, new phrases, everything on a daily basis. But those are the sort of things that have helped me. But let me say clearly, all of the things I've mentioned were totally built on the grace of God. Because
Absolutely.
I promise you, Sheida, so many other people were better in all the things that I've mentioned, and
Mm.
possibly their stories might not be as pleasant as mine.
Mm.
Everything, the foundation of all of that has been the grace of God for me.
I mean, thank you very much. And you wonder why I selected and chose you to be on this show. this is one of the reasons. I mean, you're very modest because I have gone through your profile on LinkedIn, right? So when I say that, okay, you qualify, yes, I know what you're saying about, I mean, the journey, and it's very important. I understand that as well. And almost every book you mention and every author you mention are my mentors as well. So there is
Wow,
so much
thanks.
of a correlation or
Connection.
parallel stuff between the two of us. So it was one of the things because I had a lot of names penciled down for different, areas, finance, family, career, and all that. But your name just stuck to my mind. So this is one of the reasons why, it had to be you. And I had to wait for this long, irrespective of, your busy schedule and all that, just to get this time slot. Thank you very much. I'll just try and summarize some of the things because when you mentioned focus as well, I think it's Stephen Covey that mentioned that one of the habits is to have the
With
end,
the
start
end
with
in
the end
mind.
in mind, right? So like you were saying that, okay, you have an idea of where you want to go to, have a picture. And I was telling somebody, I think it was in the last episode as well, that God has made man in his image and likeness. So imagery is very important to us as human beings because if you have that image of where you're going to go, just like you said, it's like you're projecting that into the universe. And one way or the other, things will work out and pan here and there to get that to happen. However, just like you said as well, it's not just a straight line. And I keep telling people, that I interact with that when you set your goals, don't assume that just going to be from A to B straight line. No, expect that it's going to go up and down. There will be storms, there will be waves, there will be wind, and all of that. But again, have that positive mind that whatever is happening, you are supposed to learn from it and add to yourself because the mindset is very important. I did a course about 2 years ago on cultivating a growth mindset, and it was just highlighting that the fundamental thing you need to put in your mind is the fact that you can always increase. And I framed it in this way that the biggest room in the world is the room for improvement, and that's what I have. I believe that I can always get better in anything. I believe I can learn anything. I don't
And
I
don't
don't
forget that.
accept.
I mean, don't
Yeah,
forget that the greatest room in the world is the room for improvement. Awesome.
absolutely,
Awesome.
absolutely. And that's what I believe. So if I'm learning a new sport right now, even though I'm older and everything, I still have that belief that I can learn it and do it very well because that room is the biggest room in the world. I can always improve. So thank you very much for those
Right.
points. And it summarizes everything for me and it tallies with, I mean, it's just resonating in my mind, just like you are highlighting that. So that's fantastic. So let's go back to that discussion about the effects of COVID-19. I know you mentioned how it was from your end on a personal term. And while you were mentioning
Yeah.
it, you kind of dabbled into how the pandemic has affected organizations and businesses. I mean, it's obvious. And I mean, so during the pandemic, while we had that lockdown, I did a lot of webinars, I attended a lot of meetings and all of that. And there was one in particular that kind of, popped in my mind. It was a diagram by a organization called Decode, where they looked at the different sectors in the economy of Nigeria in particular, and looked at different sectors that had positive impact with
Okay.
COVID-19, i.e., telecoms, ICT, delivery system, transportation, and all of that, versus those that have a negative impact, which is leisure, airlines, hotels, shopping mall, and things like that. And there were two sides to it. So some benefited from the pandemic, others were hit negatively. So in your opinion, what are the things you can highlight in terms of COVID-19's impact from an organization or a business point of view?
I mean, I think there are three. I could put organizations on like three pedestals.
Right.
The guys who are ready for the future of work, the guys who are somewhat ready, and the guys
Yeah,
who are not ready at all.
absolutely.
So I could say there were change agents,
Right.
those who were maybe they reacted to change. They knew
Mm.
what was going to happen, but actually they were able to react. And the other
Yeah.
guys who were just wonderful people, they're just looking and saying, "Wow, wow, wow,
Mm.
what happened?" and
Mm.
all that.
Mm.
So the guys who were ready from a future work perspective were already putting things in place, especially leveraging on technology,
Technology.
right? And
Right.
putting that business on the next platform for the
Mm.
future. There were the
Absolutely.
guys who were they were a bit skeptical, but competition is doing it. Let us
Let
try and
us
get
just
something ready. These
yeah,
people are talking a lot about the future of work. Okay, let us try and get something. It might not be from a strategic intent, but at least from an external environment impact perspective,
right.
right? So competition is doing this. Let us do it.
Let's
I
do
mean,
it.
you and
Yeah,
I know. Let us put banks in a bucket today.
right.
Banks in Nigeria. You know that some before COVID-19 they were already on that digital platform.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Some
Mm,
were struggling,
mm,
and some had just started the journey.
right.
So if you put the entire um, corporate Nigeria into those frames, then I'll say that some were ready and they just moved along with whatever happened. Those who
Mm,
were not ready struggled a bit, but
mm,
gradually they became they became gradually they were able to take advantage of the situation as much
mm.
as possible. For the guys who are not ready, they are still struggling
Struggling.
till now. They're still
Absolutely.
struggling now. They've
Mm,
lost customers, they've lost people, they've lost income. The top
mm,
lines are not doing well at all, and all that. Everybody has been impacted one way or another. When we were in October, November of 2019, and we're planning for 2020,
yeah.
nobody envisaged
Nobody.
this. We
Absolutely.
I mean, if somebody had said that it was going to happen, people have been, okay, I mean, where is that coming from? You know what I mean? Nobody.
Yeah.
But from a strategic perspective, looking at the future, well, some organizations were ready, leveraging on digital, leveraging
Mm,
on technology,
mm,
artificial intelligence, robots, and all that. In other parts of the world, maybe even more advanced, you and I
yeah.
know that I think Twitter has moved its workforce 100%
Yeah.
remote.
Yeah.
And I heard
Even
that
Microsoft as well just shut
Microsoft,
down.
yeah,
Yeah.
some banks in Nigeria also did the same. So
Mm,
it was those who were ready, they got the first mover advantage. Those
advantage.
who were
Right.
ready. I mean, that's also what speaks to us as individuals. We should always be ready.
Mm,
We should always run the what if scenarios.
absolutely.
What if we can't go to Ikoyi or VI today to work? I know businesses have business, they have the BCP or the BCM, business
Yeah.
continuity management,
Continuity
followed by a
plan.
plan. So
Mm,
those who had very robust BCM, right, were ready. They were even possibly planning for an earthquake or a flood or something,
absolutely.
but at least they
Absolutely.
have something very robust in place. The other
Mm,
guys who did not have anything but were thinking about it, eventually they moved and joined the train. The other party, they are still struggling till
struggling.
now. So
Right.
we're all, like I said, COVID-19 is a great leveler, leveled all of us at the same time, but our responses to the pandemic has been as a result of our level of preparedness as an
For the
entity
future.
or as an organization for the future. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, thank you for that classification because it essentially cuts across every organization. As you were talking about that, I just remember churches as well. You know, some churches were already in the digital space; they were streaming online, so it was just easy to just switch. As opposed to those that were still struggling, even till now, some are still like, and that's the difference between those possibly that are clamoring that, oh, let's have physical worship back, but you can't even do that with the safety measures you have to put in and all that. So absolutely, spot on in terms of that categorization. So I mean, thank you so much for that. The other thing I was going to highlight is I follow you everywhere and I see what you do on the digital space, and I noticed that recently, at least, you have the YF network, and I think I saw some of your posting about sharing tips for interviews, how to help people to prepare and all of that. And one of the things that came to my mind then, and I think I have some questions about that as well, is there is this change in the way interviews are being done now as opposed to how it was done maybe like 5-10 years ago. And of course, I've been privileged to be on interview panels and I've seen the difference. I've also been on the other side where I'm the person being interviewed, and that's that star format, where they give you a situation, they tell you to put they highlight the task and ask you to put an action plan in place and then show your results and all of that. Now, that is the change that I've noticed. I mean, I was talking to another group of mine yesterday, and I was highlighting that I actually did an interview in a coffee shop one time with an organization. I didn't even know some of the HR guys were sitting as if they were just members. So they checked me out to know what time I got in. They saw how I interacted with the waitress and the waiter. They were just looking at those behavioral stuff before the actual person now came in. and sat down with me and ordered food and asked me to order. You know, they were just checking those kind of things. And I found it very strange in terms of, oh, so this is an interview. So those kind of things are happening, you know, these days where they're using that format as well. And even if you go into another one, they might give you a scenario and tell you, okay, your interview is starting in 30 minutes time. Spend the first 30 minutes, do a slide, a presentation, and all of that. So in terms of that, right? How do you prepare for it as an individual if you're going to be expecting that star format of interviewing? How do you prepare for it? What are the tips that you can give to make a successful interview?
Again, spend time in the future. It's about preparedness. You know, there is this saying in the good book, time and chance happens to us all. The way I have defined time and chance is opportunity meeting preparedness.
Yeah.
Remember when I said to you that, I just got called from a LinkedIn interaction. Now, we just need to be ready. That could be anything. Again, this is one of the reasons why we don't expect only organizations to move with the times.
Individuals
must move with the times.
Absolutely.
Recently, somebody posted on LinkedIn and said that a candidate was contacted for a Zoom interview. He spent about 20-25 minutes trying to put this individual through the process, and she did not. 30 minutes, 35 minutes, eventually they couldn't have the meeting. My response to that was to say, give her another chance.
Right.
But in reality, I also saw so many people who were saying that was a candidate that wasn't ready. We moved into the digital space of everything since March.
Right.
The least you could do if you're a candidate waiting to get a job is know how to prepare yourself online for interviews. And if you are at the kind of level that you and I are today, it probably might be beyond just the one-on-one interview online. It might be situational, like you mentioned, the example you gave. It is just being ready. Talk to people who are a bit ahead of you. Get information and hints and tips from them. The day you get the invite for that interview, don't just sit and just wait for the day. Get ready, get ready, get ready. What must always be in our mind is that for every single role, they possibly will interview another 10 candidates.
Absolutely.
So what must I do to be the standard against which every other candidate will be measured? So it's about preparedness. First time I was going to get the head of HR job. Again, real life experience. I went to that organization. This was about middle of about 2007. All right. I was invited. I went to have a chat, and it was a Friday. And then I was told to come on Monday for the formal interview.
Right.
I'm not kidding you. I remember that I drove that day. For whatever reason, my driver wasn't with me. I drove, and as I was about to climb Falomore Bridge, right? Falomore to get into Kingsway Road and all that. I remember that, wait a minute. You've never been a head of HR before. You have an interview on Monday for a head of HR role. You know what I did? Right? There's a turn that goes into law school and what's the name of that street now? Where GTB...
Towards 1004?
Towards 1004. I just made a detour immediately. Guess what was on my mind? Latana Bookshop.
Right. Okay.
I just drove back to Latana to pick up a book on strategic HR that I was going to read over that weekend in readiness for the interview. This was 13 years ago. Talking about just being ready. It wasn't a virtual world. It wasn't a digital world at that time, but that was what was available. So what I'm saying is that I think we take a number of things for granted when we are invited for interviews. And you're right. I've been giving tips on interviews on my WhatsApp status for about a week now. And I think I'm on tip number 10, interview tip number 10 right now. What I'm planning to do is I'll put everything together and share on my LinkedIn page so that people can just read again and get ready. But it's about preparedness. It's about get ready run your what if scenarios. What if is not a What if it's a one-on-one? What am I going to say? And let me tell you, the more ready we are, the more confident we
Confident,
are
absolutely. Yes.
during that particular interview conversation.
Yeah.
The level of unpreparedness leads to some sort of agitation.
Yeah, being
You
jittery,
know what
being
I mean?
scared,
So that they
stage
get across.
fright.
It's almost like a presentation you want to make and climb a stage. If you have your
Right.
material ready, you are confident about your communication, you are going to climb that stage and you're going to own it. It's the same
Yeah.
way with interview. Get ready, get ready, get ready. You can't be ready enough. Do not take it for granted. Like I said, for every role, there are 9 to 10 other people who are going to be invited. So please get ready for any scenario that might come up.
Absolutely. I mean, for me, that's the most important. And to a large extent, over my career, over the years, I can only think of about 3 or 4 interviews that I did not get the job at the end of the day. And I think I've done over 2025, over my career, basically. And some of the things I do, basically, even before I had a car, if I get the interview, I see the address, I try and go there like a day before. So I know how long it takes me. I know what the commute time is. I know I have to hop on an Okada at this point, just to be around, so that on the day of the interview, I don't start looking around for it. I do that. And then I also do a research, on the company. I get to know what they do. I get to know, so that by the time I'm talking, I am addressing some of those things, while I'm talking. And for the scenario-based one, because it's going to lead me to the next question I'm going to ask you. And it's more like, they're trying to test what I know as opposed to just the certificate I've put in my CV. I tell people, your CV is fine, but it's just like a door to allow you get into the room. People pad their CV, people lie about their CV. I mean, I've had experiences where somebody was putting in the CV that he knows how to play chess. And I played chess when I was in school, when I was in university. So I told the guy, I said, okay, I can see that you know how to. He said, yes. I said, oh, that's fantastic. Can you tell me how you castle in chess? And the guy was just trying to explain. I said, no, it's very simple. I mean, if you put it here, then you should be able to know how you castle. And I keep telling some of the people, that I talk to, that there's no point to lie. Yes, I understand, trying to make your CV professional, but lying about it and putting things you can't do there will show you up already, because somebody might just know some of those things that you put in there and then ask you a question about it. Because we were done asking technical question and I just felt, oh, okay, let me look at your hobbies and everything. And I saw it there. And I play chess. So I was like, okay, if you can play chess, tell me how you do it. And the guy just went, off. So I try and do all of those things in terms of getting there, trying to go to the location a day before, reading about, the organization. And, in those scenario-based interview that I've done, I see that they're asking, they want to see my skill in terms of, what I know practically, as opposed to certification. I mean, Nigeria, it's tough. The market, I mean, there are a lot of people in the market that will have the similar profile like you. Okay, you have an MBA, you did this certification, 1,001 people have the same thing. So just like you said, you also need to have something that will make you stand out, and also be the standard that they'll be referencing as they interview more people around and all of that. So that's fantastic. Now, the next question I was going to ask you is this. I think it was yesterday, Friday, that I read in the news that Donald Trump, signed up an executive order in the United States to say for all the government offices that they should put more priority on skill than certificate. I was on a conference about 3 weeks ago, early in the month of June, and there was a lady there that coined this, phrase when I was talking about the future of work, that in the future it's going to be about your certificate, which is like your skill.
That was the Peju Makinde.
Yeah, yes, and that versus your certificate. So your certificate is going to be, pull aside your certificate. So again, with that, executive over yesterday, it just brought it to fore for me again that, okay, you know what, your certificate is fine, but your skill, your certificate, what you sabi, is going to get more and more important. So, I mean, from your perspective, is it a either or thing, or is best to have both from your perspective?
A friend of mine yesterday was going to pay for some certification, some course, and it was going to cost about $4,000.
Wow.
And I said, don't pay. Let's go back to the basics. What do you want to gain from this certification? What value is it going to add to you now on
Now,
your job?
right.
I didn't get the right answers. I didn't get, I see it as something that the individual wanted to do because people are doing it. People in that field are
Field.
doing it.
Right.
I saw it and I stopped it. Eventually, she didn't pay for that.
Okay.
Let me summarize all you have said by saying that the marketplace pays for value
Right.
and not certifications.
Absolutely.
If you can bring value to the table
Mm.
from your certifications, by all means, yes.
Right. Right.
But if what you are bringing is just a piece of paper to
Paper.
show that you have done a certification, junk it.
Right.
Don't bother. Okay. I mean, like
Yeah.
I said to you, I do not, apart from CIPM that I joined in 2018, I do not have anything in HR. But we read and learned on the job for knowledge, for value,
Absolutely.
for
Absolutely.
experience. So if you want the marketplace to place premium value on you, please come to the market with premium value.
Absolutely.
And premium value is not in a piece of paper, it is in what you can do with what you know.
Right. Right.
Skills, as opposed to certification, one is what you know or what you claim to know. The
Yeah.
other is what you can do with what you know
But you
or what
know.
you claim to know. Just like the guy who said he can play chess, he might have gotten a certification on how to
Right.
play chess somewhere. But
Yeah.
in practical terms, you are saying to him that show me.
Yes.
If you cannot link showing value in what you do to the value you claim to have with certification, don't bother. There is
Mm.
no need.
Mm.
Certifications lend credence to your competence.
Right. Yeah.
Certifications lend credence to your competence.
Mm.
Certification will not replace competence.
Absolutely.
It will lend credence to it. It will certify what you say you
You
know,
know.
but
Right.
it will not replace what we expect you to know and do in the place of work. So
Right.
if you're in HR and you're picking up experience on a daily basis and you know how to do reward, you are great with talent management, your recruiting skills are excellent and all that, but you want to validate all of that knowledge and
Right.
competence with a certification,
That's it.
please by all means go and do it. But if
Right.
you think that no, what you want to do is show up and give me 10 certifications in HR.
Mm.
But when we are discussing talent management, I
And
can't
can.
see any, you can't prove to me that you can deliver in that space. Then there is no point. I will ignore your certifications.
Yeah.
As an example, I mean, I did my MBA right after school. Again, this was
Right.
because I thought to myself, I needed to be successful in the corporate world. What I
Right.
thought I needed was an MBA. So after you service, I went to do an MBA. I promise you, I have never in my 11 jobs put it on the table for anybody to say, "Oh, you should take me because I have an MBA."
Right. Yeah. Mm.
It was an exposure to the possibilities
Yes.
available to me. Those 2
Mm.
years of doing an MBA in school, great exposure to possibilities. But I needed to now bring those possibilities home into what
Yeah.
I do. If
Right.
not into what I do, at least into conversations. And as you begin to have more experiences in your career, you can relate your achievements
Yes.
and then what you can do based on the things that you know. The marketplace will not pay you for what you know, it will only pay you for what you do and the
With.
value you bring to the
Mm.
market.
I mean that is fantastic, and that sums it up. And again, a couple of things I just want to pull out from what you said, which has also brought a question to my mind that I'm going to ask you.
Oh,
Is about the fact that okay, I think it's just the current generation that we have. The focus was, I mean, maybe their focus is just more on just getting those certificates, just getting everything. Because I remember when I started out as a young engineer, I mean, everybody was doing Microsoft MCSC, MCP certification, Cisco, CCNE. I started it, I did it. But again, it got to a point, maybe because I had mentors that I was talking to, and they were like, you know what, in the future, it's the skill that's going to be important. And so instead of trying to get those certifications, I went for the skill where I practically could do those things. And another thing you mentioned is because I have those skills, even when I go to interviews, my confidence level was high because I
Correct.
know whatever you're asking me. I mean, it gets to a point. Sometimes I will ask them, okay, can I use a pen? Can I go to the board? And
And
and they'll be
explain it.
like, and and I would explain it, and and they're like, okay, you don't have the certificate, but I mean, you show me that you can do this thing. And those are things that I've worked on myself. And again, a lot of people also, because of we're in the information age, it's the fourth industrial revolution, internet is everywhere, people have it on their phones and all that. But I also realized that for the younger generation, instead of using that avenue to seek information, most of them use it to just on social media to just be gossiping here and there, or checking up stuff and all of that. And I'm like, okay, fine, you need it to entertain yourself, but again, it's the super information highway in your hands.
Yeah.
You could Google it, you could ask, you go to YouTube and learn some stuff. I can't tell you the number of courses I've taken. I'm a techie, right? I had to take a course on using Zoom just before the lockdown, started, because I knew that we're going to be using those tools,
Right.
Microsoft Teams, Zoom,
Yeah.
and all.
Yeah.
So even though I know how to use it, but I took a course on it just to get to those. So by the time I get to meetings and I'm doing some things, people are like, where did that come from? And I'm like, I'm just upping my skill, and I made learning a constant habit. I
Awesome.
mean, my I celebrate my birthday in the month of June. My birthday is in the first 3 days of June. And what I usually do is I get books for myself that I want to
Okay.
read. So in different areas, whether it's finance I want to learn about, whether it's strategy, whether it's leadership, I just buy books to try as much as possible to touch, different areas so that I can add to
Yes.
myself. Like you
Yes.
said with the MBA, it's an exposure. Yes, it,
Right.
it, it brightens your, broadens your horizon, and then it helps
No.
you in your conversation, and I know all those things. So that's fantastic, and I appreciate you for going, into that details and all that. The other question I said came to my mind was when you were talking about, from an HR perspective. Now we're kind of accepting the new norm or getting comfortable and adapting to what's happening. So that means that people will work from home more and all of that. How challenging is it now for HR in terms of managing performances of people? Because now as a manager, all of my teammates are not. I don't see them physically. Everybody's virtual now. But so how do I manage performance in terms of managing a team, getting, KPIs and all of those things from an HR perspective? Because for just like the organization is pivoting into the new norm, HR as a function in our organization needs to start thinking of, what to do to still keep the business running, and welfare package for employees, performance management, and all the HR metrics that is required. What are the things that are becoming challenging? I think that's just the question for HR to kind of pivot to this new norm.
Okay. So the good news is that we haven't waited. We haven't relaxed. Those of us in the HR space, we are
Mm,
talking every day. Just this morning, I had a session and we were talking about employee productivity in a
right,
changing workplace.
right.
A couple of weeks ago, I had another session with some audience, and we were talking of the future of performance management.
Mm,
And we're talking to HR people. And at some point as well, some other webinar we had was talking around the new skills that we need within the space of HR. So
mm,
a lot has changed, a lot is changing. Leadership and HR leaders have worked together, they've collaborated a lot in the last couple of weeks, right?
right.
To make sure that we move from those phases that I talked about, the worry, anxiety, fear phase,
Mm,
into we've got to survive, we've got to
yeah,
live with it. And
yeah,
now we are moving gradually into the thrive and recovery mode, right?
yeah,
So we've
yeah.
done a lot of work around those curves. So things are changing for us. So many things have changed. Now to hone in on the performance management bit that you talked about,
Mm,
I said to them this morning that if there's any manager who is a micro manager, they have lost the battle.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
if they were used to come and stare into my screen to see what I am doing and all that, they can't do that anymore.
Right.
Right. And if they are picking up the phone to call me every time, where are you? Are you at work? I can hear voices in the background. It will lead to more frustration for me.
Yeah.
And if I have an opportunity, I'll leave that organization. I might hang around right now because opportunities are not many in the market. But as soon as I see the right one, I'm out. Okay. So what I'm saying is that performance management, in the fundamentals might be the same, but the way we manage people will be totally different. Fundamentals being the same mean that we are still going to set objectives.
Right.
We are still going to be checking in with performance dialogues.
Right.
But we're not going to be managing time and efforts. We're not going to be checking when you clocked into the office and when you clocked out. It will be strictly around performance, results on one hand, and also empathy. Given the situation we're going through now, empathy on the other hand. Remember, work is from home, school is from home, family is at home. It's a small workspace. I'm dealing with so many things, and you require results from me. So we will require new set of leadership skills to work with human resources in organizations to get the best out of people. Those are the things that are changing. Mental health is becoming important. Total employee well-being must be put into the mix, right? It's not just about calling me every day for the results or for the KPI or for the sales figures. You also need to check up with me. How is it going?
How am I doing?
Are you? We still need to encourage the fact that we don't see one another every day anymore, but the culture of the organization is still important.
Right.
We still need to have a space, a very good space for the culture of the organization, right? We still need to balance the performance of the organization with employee productivity. We still need to provide tools for people. It is unfair for you to not give me a laptop and expect me to deliver.
Right.
So it is not just about performance, Shay. It is about entire employee life cycle taken into consideration, so that we will encourage employees to bring their best, the best of themselves to work on a daily basis, though we are not seeing them physically.
Right.
I mean, you and I know, that I know that a couple of people will come into a meeting, they will mute the video, mute the audio, and they go do some other things. 1 hour later, they come back. Any question? No question. Everything is fine. You know what I mean? So leadership capabilities is going to be called into question around not just performance management, but everything. How about reward structure? How about, like I said, the culture? How about performance? How about training, learning and development? Because everything we tend to see the components of HR as if they're in isolation. They're not. Everything actually comes together. Performance management related to learning and development, related to reward, related to culture, related to talent management. Everything is interwoven. So it calls into question the ability of HR guys to quickly transit into the new ways of doing things, and also for leadership to leave the traditional mode of leadership behind and quickly transit into a new normal sort of leadership. So it's a lot of work. It is really a lot of work for HR people and leadership. 3 things will change. The organization itself, the physical structure of the organization will change. The workforce will change. If you and I are in the same office, or 3 of us in the same office, though we are observing social distancing, you sit there and I sit here and somebody sits there, and that somebody on my far right sneezes the first time. I'll be like, okay.
What's happening?
And then I continue, and then the guy coughs. I'm like, okay. I just say, excuse me, I'm taking a break, and I might
Yeah,
go home from there. We need to take
absolutely.
all of that into consideration. So the workplace will change, interactions will change. Are we still going to have a staff canteen going forward? If we have it, what are the protocols that we
Protocol.
need to put in
Observe.
place
Right.
on a daily basis? So HR itself is not the only function that is changing. The
Mm.
entire structure around the workplace has changed. It's not even
Right.
changing. It has
Yeah.
changed. In some organizations, they now have a split of who's going to be at work, who's not going to be
Yeah.
at work, a
Like
schedule
a
for the rest of the
blend.
year. So
Right.
you might not see your colleague for the next couple of months, but you guys are
Absolutely.
working together.
Together.
So leadership
Mm.
must still encourage the collegiate culture that
Yeah.
brings people together, despite the fact that we don't see one another. So
Mm.
let's not take performance management in isolation. A
Yeah.
lot is riding on it. A lot is riding on leadership, and a lot is
Mm.
riding on HR.
Wow. I mean, thank you so much. So what I've tried to do is to highlight some of the questions just to be sure that I covered everything. And to a large extent, I think we've basically touched on everything. And I mean, I was looking at the time as well. It's almost 1 hour since we started, and it's just like we should continue, forever. Because you're dropping nuggets, you're dropping points, and to a large extent, I mean, I'm so happy that we had the chance to do this. What I will ask,
Thank
like Oliver Twist, is if we call on you some other time in the future, I hope you would accept our invitation to come again and let's have another chat like this. So finally, I have just one last question. I just popped to my mind. I mean, just like you mentioned earlier in terms of looking into the future. I mean, I'll call you a futurist to a large extent, right? Just loosely, because I mean, you've been reading about the future of work, the future organization, and all of that. And there's I don't call it an argument, but I have this discussion with some of my friends on LinkedIn as well, where it's a single question, and they say, okay, are we ever going to return to the old way of doing things, or the new normal has come to stay?
It's a simple one. We are not going to go back there. We are not going to. Even when the vaccine is finally found, we
Right,
would have been used to the new normal
right.
that
That
nobody
it becomes the normal.
ever wants to go back. Let me tell you
Wow.
what will happen. The alternative workforce will become mainstream.
Right.
People will be working with two or three organizations,
Yeah.
right? So your contract will not say work with me full force. You can't do
Exclusive.
another work. It can't.
Mm,
It won't happen again. People are going
right.
to be taking reward cuts, salary cuts willingly. But what it
Yes.
means is that I will also reduce my time with the
That I
organization.
work.
So,
Right.
hey, I take 100,000 naira a month. I'll take 60, but I'll work with you Monday to Wednesday. She, we are realizing that everything is now in the flow of life. Everything is on
Absolutely.
the same parallel. So I can
Yes.
manage my life a lot better with work as well. So
Mm,
why do I want to compartmentalize?
into one
Work
set.
now,
Right.
life later, work
Yeah.
now. No, 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 no. We're going to be saying, no, let's do work life fluidity. I am
Right.
weaving in and out of work. And the way the policies and the practices of the workplace and regulations and possible labor laws will change, will
Mm.
begin to change the things around how we work. Back to the old ways, not likely. Not likely.
And that's what I was telling somebody, because I had a meeting earlier today, and while we were gisting before we officially started, somebody was saying that it is no longer, we're no longer saying we're working from home. That right now, what I'm saying is I am living at work, because I mean, my
Absolutely.
house is where everything is, and that's the truth. And I've
And
been trying to tell
work
people,
is anywhere. Work has become from
yes,
anywhere.
it's
Anywhere.
fluid now.
If my background was virtual, you wouldn't know whether I'm at a bar somewhere or
Yes,
in a family house somewhere. You wouldn't know if my because all I need to do to work now is my laptop,
yes,
connectivity, power bank,
yes,
and
yes,
I'm fine. Right? So yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, I want to say a big thank you to you for this time. I mean, it just flew by just like that. You know what they say, that once you're having fun, time flies and all of that. So, like I said earlier, this is not the end, because I see a whole lot of things to decode, from an HR point of view. And I'll still reach out to you again. Of course, I'll give you time, because I know you're a very busy person and all of that. But I want to appreciate you and thank you so much for coming on board. Thank you for the time you spent. Thank you for the ideas you've shared, your perspective and everything. And I hope everybody gains from it as well. I wish you all the best in everything you're doing in this new organization you're in. I know the kind of quality and excellence that you bring. So I expect, so I expect that. I don't expect anything less than that. I mean, I've known you for a while. I followed you for a while. So all I'll say is I wish you all the best and thank you so much.
Thank you,
My
Shay.
regards to
Thank
the
you.
family. Thank
Will
you.
do.
Thank them for us for allowing us to have 1 hour with Daddy, and
I will.
and thanks to Madam as well. So I mean, I want to thank everybody for listening in. We'll share the video, within the group, and then we'll look at questions that come up, and I'll be able to reach out to you if there are other questions that we need to ask and all of that. So I want to appreciate you and thank you. And for the rest of the community, thank you for sparing your time. Another episode will come with another guest of mine on Achievers Zone. So stay tuned and look out for it. God bless you all and see you later.
All right. Okay, Shay.